Hello and welcome back to another edition of the Hiking Journal. In today's episode, I take another quick but tough solo hike in the San Jacinto mountain range and hike along the Desert Divide to reach Lion Peak. As the Pacific Crest Trail winds and wiggles its way northward through the San Jacinto Mountains, it makes its way through oak forests and chaparral and yucca and cactus-filled desert highlands and eventually subalpine forests of pine and fir. This southern section of the San Jacinto mountain range is known as the Desert Divide, and on its eastern flank you'll find several deep eroded boulder-strewn canyons and magnificent views out across the Anza-Borrego Desert State Park. The views along this section of the P.C.T. are breathtaking. The entire Santa Rosa Range to the south, the San Jacinto Wilderness to the north, Coachella Valley to the east, and Garner Valley and Thomas Mountain along with Lake Hemet to the west. They're all seen year-round. Named by the United States Forest Service in 1960 after our California native mountain lion, where fresh paw prints are often found, especially in the snowy winter months, Lion Peak is a relatively small peak regarding its mass. It's barely a quarter mile wide at its widest point. At 6,868 feet, its northeastern face provides the easiest ascent, albeit a Class 2 scramble near the summit after some bushwhacking and negotiating a series of well-placed rock cairns. All the other sides are strewn with large boulders and thick forest, and due to the steepness and brush, it makes climbing up from this side almost impossible, without a lot of sweat and blood loss. The access point to this unofficial use trail at the top of Lion Peak summit is off the familiar Pacific Crest Trail. Being near the southernmost end of the San Jacinto Range, this peak affords clear views of Pinyon Flat to the west and the entire Santa Rosa mountain range, mostly to the south and east. Neighboring Pine Mountain and the Devil's Rock Pile are in constant view along the way and provide a significant landmark. According to all trails, the route to Lion Peak along the P.C.T. is an 8.9-mile out-and-back hike with an elevation gain of 2,043 feet. It doesn't have its own trail, but begins at the junction of the Cedar Springs Trail and the north and southbound Pacific Crest Trail along the Desert Divide. So first you have to climb up the hot and dry west-facing slopes to get to the P.C.T., and then the route starts here. At the saddle of the Desert Divide, I'll finally reach the junction of the Pacific Crest Trail and the Cedar Springs Trail. Here I'll turn right and continue heading east, then south for approximately another 1.5 miles, passing Little Desert Peak that I scrambled up to and Pyramid Peak that I did not. Off to my left is a tremendous view of miles and miles of rugged, hot, barren, and steep desert terrain that I'd never want to be unfortunate enough to enter. It's also known as Hell's Kitchen. I really wanted to take a side trip up to Pyramid Peak along the way, and I even looked for what I read was a small pile cairn on the right for the climbing trail to Pyramid Peak, but I couldn't find it. Instead, I continued southbound on the P.C.T. just past Pyramid Peak for another mile straight onto the shoulder of Lion Peak. Thankfully, I spotted a cairn on the right side of the trail. On this hike, the weather was a bit warm for me, but thankfully I was wearing my air-conditioned McGregor kilt, and the cool breeze along the Desert Divide made it enjoyable. Even though it was getting later in the spring, I did manage to take in some magnificent wildflowers and spotted a snake or two along the trail. That'll all be coming up in this edition of the Hiking Journal. Well, good morning and welcome back to another edition of the Journal. Today I'm heading back out to Idyllwild, or near Idyllwild, the San Jacinto Desert Divide. I'm going to be making a turn on Morris Ranch Road and heading up toward the start of the Cedar Springs Trail. Now, I've been to the Cedar Springs Trail many times. In fact, last time I went, I think I was with Lindsay, and we went up to the spring and had lunch up there. Well, today I'm going to be heading up the Cedar Springs Trail to where it meets the Pacific Crest Trail. The Cedar Springs Trail kind of basically goes to the top of the ridge line where it meets the Pacific Crest Trail that goes from south to north or right to left. But when I get to the top where it meets the Pacific Crest Trail, I'm going to make a right and I'm going to head toward Pyramid Peak and Lion Peak. And I've never been that direction, believe it or not. I've been all along the Desert Divide, from just south of that all the way up through Spittler and Apache Peak up toward Ansel Rock. And now this time I'm going to be hitting the P.C.T. and going right, going south. And it should be pretty nice, pretty clear. There shouldn't be any snow. It should all be gone by now. Today's the first day of June, so it's going to be warm today. I'm prepared for it. I've got a lightweight breathable shirt on, and I'm going to be hiking in my kilt today. So I don't really expect to see a whole lot of people, maybe one or two. Which is this one? This is Toolbox Springs. Okay, we're getting closer. And anyway, it should be a good day. It's going to be hot in the valley. It's going to be probably over 100 in Palm Springs. It's even going to be in the upper 80s at my house. So I'm hoping along the desert divide with that breeze, it'll be in the upper 60s, low 70s. That's what I'm hoping for. Well, anyway, I should be coming up on the road here any second. It's Morel Canyon. I think it's actually the next one. The next one should be Morris Ranch Road. But anyway, I'll check back in a minute as I start up the trail, up the Cedar Springs Trail, up the Desert Divide. That'll all be coming up next in this edition of the Journal. All right, well, here's the turn for Morris Ranch Road. Cedar Springs Trail, 3 3/4 miles. That's where we're going today. Past the fire station here. This is one of the nicer paved roads to get to a trailhead. It's a good spot to get to. It's got a nice trailhead. The Cedar Springs Trail is well maintained. And for the initial first part, it's going to be pretty much straight up. It's going to be straight up the mountain, and eventually it'll reach the P.C.T, and then from there it'll be a little bit of up and down as it heads south on the P.C.T. You know, as I'm heading up the highway here, I'm heading up Morris Ranch Road. I'm basically looking at the Desert Divide right there. I didn't realize it was this close. In fact, that little sort of dip in the canyon right there, that draw, that's basically where the Cedar Springs Trail is going to go up. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't know for sure, that might very well be Pyramid Peak right there. It looks similar to a pyramid. And to the right of that is a more of a rounded knob. That could very well be Lion Peak. So we'll see when I get up there. Trailhead for Cedar Springs Trail should be coming up here on the right. There's also a Boy Scout camp or Girl Scout camp, or maybe it's a Christian retreat, who knows, called Camp Sherwin. And the Cedar Springs Trail should be coming up on the right here in a few minutes. Here's the turnoff for Camp Sherwin. It's 68 degrees already. That's kind of warm. It's a lot warmer than I was hoping for. And let's see what this sign says down here on the right. Camp Joe Sherman. It says park off pavement. Well, maybe this is the trailhead. I think it is. Let me go park over here and take a walk down the road. I think the trailhead's right around the corner. Well, welcome back to another edition of the Journal. In today's episode, I'm going to be heading up the Cedar Springs Trail. And I've already had my first disaster in the first 5 feet when I left the Jeep. I was putting all my lunch stuff together, and I was going to bring an ice cold beer, put it in a cooler pack, put it in my pack so that I have something cool to drink. It's going to be hot today. And I dropped it, and it hit a pointed rock and squirted everywhere, the whole thing. I'm lucky I brought 2, so I'm good. And I don't know why I didn't think about it. I should have just grabbed it and chugged it right there on the spot, and I didn't think about it. It was all covered in dirt anyway. So anyway, it's gonna be a warm day today. I'm getting a little later start than normal. There's actually 2 cars at the trailhead. There's a big white van and kind of a really nice looking Toyota truck that's rigged out for overlanding. He's got a bunch of stuff on it, so I might run into some company up here. Who knows? That could be a California Conservation Corps van as well. It's like a 15-passenger van, so you never know. Anyway, I'm heading up the trail with one beer. Well, it looks like the Cedar Springs Trail is due for some maintenance. It's like the signs of has seen their better days, and what the trailhead was knocked over, and this one you can barely read. Anyway, heading up that way. Well, if you didn't notice, in the first clip, as I started up the trail, not wearing my Luna sandals today, and the reason for that is this trail is really rocky. There's a lot of really abrasive, pointy, sharp rocks along this trail, and since I've been here numerous times, I knew that. I have done it in sandals before, but a little easier on your feet. Your feet get sore by the end of the day. This is a perfect time and location to wear my Merrells because they have a lot thicker, cushionier sole. And if I kick a rock or two, they're making all kinds of noise over there. It's not a big deal. So anyway, maybe I'll get lucky and see a rattlesnake today. Wouldn't that be something? It's warm enough. It's definitely going to be hot enough for them. And it's a little late for the spring bloom, but I've already seen several things. I'll get a picture of it. It's going to be a little breezy. It's going to feel nice, I think, today. This first section is really nice. Now, if you've never seen one of these before, these are California thistles. And they are in bloom today, it looks like. There's several of these growing right alongside this fence line to keep the cattle back. Just a little reminder to stay on the trail today. Don't wander too far. There is private property on both sides. The Boy Scout camp is on the left, and there's private property on the right. I've already passed quite a few no hunting signs. Here's some more shots of that thistle. Don't think we'll see any poison oak. You never know. This trail is mostly sun exposed, so I don't think we're going to see any of that. There's no lush riparian creekside or streamside sections. It's mostly switchback up this west face up to the top of the P.C.T. So I don't think we're going to see a lot. Here's a little bit of pop of color, not a lot, just some. Those kind of look like tuberosa bushes. I don't know if they are for sure. Pretty much look like it. And here's another gate. I think there's a total of 3, if I remember right, on the way up. Keep the cattle out. And yet we've come to a third gate. This one looks pretty easy to get through here. Oh, it just has a little hook here. I'll get through this here in a second. All right, well, we're through the gate and we're continuing up that direction. The P.C.T. is on top up there. We got a lot of switchbacks to go to get there. I noticed this, it's kind of a scraggly tree, but the leaves are really pretty. And thought it was some kind of an oak, but if you use the Seek app on your phone, you can use it offline. It says it's a box elder. So I'll double check it when I get home. It doesn't always give you the correct name. It's either it's correct or it'll give you the family name, but it won't narrow it down. So it'll tell you, oh, it's an oak or it's a pine. Well, no shit, I knew that. But this one says it's a box elder, so we'll check it when we get back. If you're coming up the trail and you don't have a lot of time, or you're with little ones or your dog, or you decided you just want to come up here for lunch, there's a nice little picnic table in this oak grove. Come over here, sit in the shade. The only thing you have to worry about is the foxtails in your socks, I guess. Especially if you have a dog, you got to worry about that. A foxtail getting in his ear and working its way down. That could be pretty dangerous. Make a quick trip to the vet for that one. Birds are singing. Looks like here's another sign, or what's left of a sign. I'm not going to go through the foxtails to get to it. I don't want them all stuck to my sock. Be prepared for hazardous conditions beyond this point. Well, I don't know what hazardous conditions we're talking about, but there's nothing really hazardous. The only thing I can think of is maybe during the winter when it's iced up, you do have some exposure, but very little. Here's another sign. All right, it says Pacific Crest Trail, 1.5 miles. Huh. Cedar Springs 2.5. See, I told you it wasn't at the P.C.T. But I wonder what that little box is over there. I'm curious about that. But I don't want to get a bunch of stuff in my socks to go look and see. I don't know, we'll see, maybe on the way back. In the meantime, I gotta work my way up top of the ridge line there to get to the P.C.T. And the other thing I wanted to mention is we're right in smack dab in the middle of rattlesnake season and tick season. And if I have to plow through some brush on my way up, I'm gonna definitely have to do a tick check when I get home, for sure. You know, I have to say, this is the most overgrown I've ever seen this trail. And there's some bracken fern down there. And it's really enclosed quite a bit. Don't run into that. And this, believe it or not, is a maple. And you can tell by the leaves, maple leaves. Get a pretty decent shot there. Let me get it out of the way here. And it kind of reminds you of the Canadian flag a little bit. Well, here I can say goodbye to the shade and out into the sun. This is where the first of 13 or 14 switchbacks start, as it works its way up toward the P.C.T. Well, the other thing I was going to mention is, since I'm out in the sun now, if I'm going to see a snake today, it's going to be right here, out in this open section over the next 13 switchbacks. We're going to eventually get a pretty good view across the canyon. In fact, you can actually see the dome on top Palomar from here. I didn't think you could, but you can, as I work my way up in the sun. Well, here's my first view. This is actually looking, I guess, southwest. And on the top of that peak, way off in the distance, see if you can see it. To the right of that peak is Mount Palomar Observatory. And Thomas Mountain is in the middle. And there's the road I drove in on right there. Morris Ranch Road. Well, looks like this yucca has seen better days. It's lived its life. And it's returning to earth. But there are plenty more up here ahead of us. And here is our third gate. Or actually, the fourth gate. Pretty sure this is the last one. And this one's a little easier to open. But now I can see what's ahead of me here. I mean, there's a lot of switchbacks up there. It looks steep too. And exposed. Now I've seen probably 5 or 6 lizards with huge tails. They must have been 8 inches long. They look different than most of the lizards I'd see up here. But what I'm thinking is, if there's a lot of lizards, there's a lot of food for snakes. And it's freaking getting hot up here. As soon as I find a shady spot, I'm gonna have to take a break for a minute, get some hydration, maybe take one of those hammer gels I brought along. And as I climb higher, you're gonna get a better view to the west, and you can see the elevation I've climbed from the road already. Well, I noticed there's all kinds of insects flying around today. They sound like bees and they act like bees, but they don't look like bees. So I don't know what these are. I guess they're bees. I noticed quite a few of these blooming on the trail. Thought for sure these were, let me smell it. Thought for sure these were sage. It says they're yerba santas. Well, here's another view looking toward the Palomar Range and Thomas Mountain. And this great big yucca right here. In bloom. How pretty is that? Look at the size of this thing. It's probably 8 inches in diameter. And it looks like there's several more here along the trail. As I'm working my way up the switchbacks, I got quite a few to go still. but I can see it. Top's up there. Grade's pretty nice, can't complain. It's just hot. And at least right here in this section I have a little bit of a breeze. Look at the size of the tail of these guys. I have to look these up when I get home. He's looking at me, he's not afraid at all. And these rocks are covered with this almost fluorescent green and orange. Must be a fungus or lichen maybe, I don't really know. It is kind of pretty though, along the trail. This is the first one of these I've seen along the trail. This is a real sun-exposed section. As I'm working my way up toward the P.C.T. Well, according to the CCAP, this is a Lewis monkey flower. Didn't know that. Now I do. But I do know it's hot. It's hotter than hell right here. Well, here's a pretty good view of where I've come. You can see the roadway down there, just to the left of the pond, and the parking lot. I'm way down there. So I'm working my way up to the Desert Divide. I'm not too far. I still have some more switchbacks to go, but I'm getting there. I just can't believe how hot it is. And you can see the switchbacks, some of them at least. Well, I just missed my first snake. Went into the bushes right there, and that pisses me off because that was a rosy boa. It was thin. I don't know where he went. He's in here somewhere. It was definitely not a rattlesnake. And I wonder if he went into a hole somewhere. Well, there's two things. One, I just missed a rosy boa. I was looking off to the left, wasn't paying attention, and it slithered right out of the brush in front of me and went to the right, and the time I got to him, he was gone. Couldn't find him. But the second thing is I'm already at the P.C.T. I didn't even realize it. I didn't think I was that close. But here's the junction. A really nice little spot for a break. I'm gonna take advantage of it. It says Cedar Spring 1 mile. I've been that way before. It goes around the ridge line and works its way down. If I go to the right, I'm gonna head up toward Lion and Pyramid Peak. And if you're heading this way, you're going northbound. This is toward the south side of Spittler, and then eventually Patchy, and then you work your way over to Ansel Rock, and then Red Tockwitz, and then eventually San Jacinto. But what's nice about this is it's got a great spot right here for a break. I'm gonna take a few minutes, maybe get me something to eat, and enjoy this little cool spot for a break. It's nice right here, it's in the shade. Well, I've reached the top of the Cedar Springs Trail, where it meets the Pacific Crest Trail. And this is my view looking east over toward the Palm Desert, Palm Springs, Indian Wells, Cathedral City, all out that direction toward the Coachella Valley. And if I go to the left, down around that ridge line that comes from left to right, the Cedar Springs is tucked into one of the draws back there around the corner. I'm not going there today. I'm going to be going to the right toward Pyramid Peak and eventually Lion Peak. But in the meantime, you got a good view of Palm Desert, and we got a nice cool breeze up here. Boy, what a great spot for a break, huh? Here along the Pacific Crest Trail, right where the Cedar Springs Trail comes up and meets Cedar Springs Trail meets the P.C.T. So I brought some, I'm not going to eat my whole lunch, I'm just going to eat part of it, but I did bring the barbecue Pringles. That actually sounds pretty good right now. I bought caprese turkey wrap from the grocery store. I have a cool pack right here with ice pack in it, so since this is a day hike, I can maybe I'll eat half my sandwich now and the other half later. See if I can eat this without the ants crawling into the rest of it. It looks pretty good. Nice and refreshing. It's better than a can of hot soup on a hot day or a mountain house. And I brought a beer, but that's for later. I'm just gonna enjoy this nice spot, man. This was great. You never know, I might run into a thru hiker. It's getting a little late in the year, so I doubt it, but you never know. Well, I'm starting to see quite a bit of this pop up along the trail out here in the exposed sun area as I'm nearing the top of the Cedar Springs Trail with a view overlooking the Palm Desert area. According to the Seek app, this is called the Desert Globe Nalo. Well, as I'm taking a break here along this Cedar Springs Trail, I've come to the junction here. This is the Pacific Crest Trail heading north and south. Behind me is heading north toward Idyllwild along the Desert Divide. Behind me, you've got Spittler Peak, and then Apache Peak, and Ansel Rock, and Red Tockwitz, and eventually San Jacinto, and then you'll work your way down toward Interstate 10. But if you're going this way, you're going to hit Pyramid Peak, and Lion, and Pine, and then eventually you'll get to that Gold Shot Mine where I was a few episodes ago, and you'll work your way over to Highway 74, and just to the right of that is Paradise Valley Cafe. And if you keep going south, you're going to hit that section I was on one of the last episodes as you're heading toward Warner Springs. But according to this sign, it's 12 miles from this spot to Highway 74. And Cedar Springs is 1 mile. And Forbes Junction is 3 miles that way. Anyway, I'm going to be going this way toward Pyramid and Lion today. But in the meantime, I got to finish my my little break over here, finish my sandwich, get hydrated, and head on southbound Pacific Crest Trail. You know, I'm just wondering if that is Pyramid. I'm going to pass Pyramid on the way to Lion, and the trail that I came up is right there, but the P.C.T. is going to go to the left of that along this ridgeline. And it might very well work its way to the right, and that could very well be Pyramid. I'm not sure. I have to look at the map, but kind of looks like a pyramid, don't it? All right, well, I'm working my way southbound on the Pacific Crest Trail toward Pyramid Peak. And you can see off in the distance over there is Palm Springs, Palm Desert area. But I'm heading south on the Pacific Crest Trail. It's still warm up here. It's probably feels like 75, but at least there's a little bit of a breeze. I'll take it. Not a lot. I thought it'd be a lot windier up here. Maybe when I get a little further up, it will be. Well, you can see San Jacinto in the distance, and you can see the trail I was on, working my way up to the P.C.T. And I saw this little rock outcrop. Had some cool looking rocks. So I thought I'd come up here and check it out. And lo and behold, right there, looks like a summit register. This could very well be what I read was Little Desert Peak. So I'll check that out when I open up the register. Sign in. Kind of a nice spot. It's got a great breeze up here. And obviously a tremendous view. And way off in the distance, you can actually see the Salton Sea. How cool is that? Well, here's another great view out toward Anza-Borrego in the desert. And if you're working your way northbound to the P.C.T. and you're just past Pyramid Peak, there's a nice little campsite right here. That's perfect. It's got shade, it's tucked out of the wind. It's a great little spot. And I believe that is Lion. I'm pretty sure Pyramid's up there somewhere. Now, as I'm working my way over toward Pyramid Peak, with the desert behind me, I'm paralleling the summit right now, and I have to be on the lookout for some cairns. There really isn't a dedicated trail, but over the years enough people have been up there and they've placed some cairns, so you kind of have an idea where to go. And hopefully I won't have to bushwhack too much. I'm gonna have to check the All Trails app here pretty soon, because it should be coming up. Well, that is the top of Pyramid, and the P.C.T. is going left below the ridgeline there. You can see it working its way down. And at some point we're gonna lose elevation and gain some back, and then lose a little and work our way over to Lion. But man, what an outstanding view over the desert. And I'm loving that cool breeze. It's still hot. That breeze helps. Well, this is my first pine I've seen on this hike today. Looks like a coulter pine. Could very well be this one right here, as I'm heading my way up. Well, as I came up over this rise on my way to Lion, there's a really good view of Toro Peak and Santa Rosa Mountain. Well, I'm not too far from, hopefully, Trail Junction, or at least a used trail cairn, to the top of Lion Peak. Got a pretty good view along the divide, looking off toward Highway 74, but I'm continuing this way, looking for that cairn. Well, you can see where the P.C.T. starts to switchback. Looks like down that hill. Or it continues over that way. I really can't tell. I don't know where that goes. Maybe it's another trail. Hopefully I'll run into that cairn pretty soon. Well, I popped another hammer gel because I was running out of steam. And looks like the P.C.T. is turning left, and right next to this fluorescent orangey reddish bush is, I believe, the cairn I'm looking for. I think that's it. And it looks like there's another cairn right there, and there's another one further up the ridge. So this must be the climb to Lion. Ooh, this is steep, but my reward are these cactus in bloom. And I have to really pay attention because I don't see a whole lot of cairns. There's one up there. And there's a cairn on that down log, and another one on the next log. So this must be the way. And I can tell you right now, this is not going to be easy. There's another cairn. And another cairn. It's a lot steeper than it looks. There's even a cairn right there. Oh man, this is steep. And it's hot. Hopefully I don't have too much farther to go. And hopefully it doesn't get any denser than this, because I'm brushing up a lot right now. Well, I think this is pretty much about it. Doesn't go up any higher than this. Another rock cairn. I think this is the top of the Lion right here, I'm assuming. Geez, what a climb, huh? Hopefully there's a bench marker or something up here. I'll have to look around. Well, this is the top of Lion. I still haven't found the benchmark yet. That's looking south. You can see a curvy road going up. That's Santa Rosa Road, Santa Rosa Truck Trail. Garner Valley looking that way. And that's Palomar Observatory. And this is looking north and west. Saddleback. It's way off in the distance. Well, it looks like I finally reached the top of Lion Peak, or along the Desert Divide. In fact, right here is the sign-in register. So I'm going to take a few minutes here, sign my name to the register, and be on my way. It's hot up here. Anyway, see when the last person was that was up here. Looks like the 29th of May, just a few days ago. Anyway, today's June 1st. I'm signing in today. Signed in on the register on the top of Lion Peak here on the first day of June. Put this back in there. It's actually a pretty nice watertight container. Cover that back up, keep the water out. I'm getting off the top here. It's hot. Gotta go get in the shade. Well, you probably don't get a real appreciation for how steep this is or how overgrown this is. All I got to say is thank God for the Karens and the prior hikers and climbers that ascended this route before me, because this wasn't easy. I'm sure I've done worse, but this has got to rank up there with them. And it's thankfully short, because I have to climb up and over these logs. I'm always a little leery of what's on the other side, but it looks like maybe the worst of it is over. I still have one more section. Pretty rough stuff up here, but it's short. Well, there's a little racer. I thought it was a coach whip at first. It's not, it's a racer. And he's very, very calm. And away he went. Tried to pick him up and I missed. Swing and a miss. Well, I'll tell you what, man, this is a well-deserved break for sure. This this cold sandwich that I kept in this little cooler pack, very refreshing. And so is this Lost Coast tangerine beer. If you've never had tangerine IPA, these are really, really good. You know, I've tried different flavors of orange flavored beers, and this one is by far the best one. It's made by Lost Coast. It's kind of hard to find, especially in cans. But it's ice cold. I had like 3 ice packs in this thing. Even the turkey is cold. It's hot up here. I'm going to enjoy some time in the shade. Cool down a little bit. At least I have a pretty cool breeze in the shade, but you get in that open slope, man, you're cooking. I'm just dreading this next section, because when I go down those 13, 14 switchbacks, it's all in the sun, all the way down to the bottom. So I'm going to have to try to make some good time going down there so I can hurry up and get to that shade at the bottom. But anyway, I made it up to Lion Peak. I walked right by Pyramid twice, each way. Never saw the Karen. And to be honest, I was going to do it on the way back, and then I was kind of too tired, and I was hot. Well, that'll give me another excuse to come back up here and do it again. just to go to Pyramid, because that's a lot easier than getting to Lion. Ran into two girls not too far from Lion, and they had hiked all the way up here the Cedar Springs Trail just like I did. Super nice girls. They had their dog with them, and they were going to try to scramble up to Lion as well. So that'll be 2 entries for today, for June 1st. It's been a pretty good day, actually. Even though it's warm, it's been a pretty good day. When you get a little farther into the summer, it's going to be too hot to come up here. You have to really check the weather before you come up, because it's probably only 70 right now, but it feels like 85. Well, anyway, finished my sandwich and my beer. I got to head back down the Cedar Springs Trail back to the Jeep. Well, I'm heading down off the top of Cedar Springs Trail. It's really hot. So the shirt came off. Get out my bandana and soaked it. And now I'm heading down the trail in full direct sun, trying to stay as cool as I can. I got about a half liter of water, ought to be enough. I only got to hike about not even 3 miles, 2.5 miles, so shouldn't be too bad. Good thing is it's downhill all the way. And here's my view as I'm heading down the Cedar Springs Trail. Some wildflowers, a little yellow, a little gold, a little purple. View of the pond down there. Great view of Thomas Mountain and the Palomar Range. I did see Rosy Boa right before I got to the top of the trail junction, and I did see a black racer coming back from Lion Peak, but that was about it so far. Maybe I'll get lucky, I'll see another one going down. Well, I'm working my way down from the upper switchbacks. I'm just about to the lower switchbacks now. I'll tell you what, man, once you get 4 or 5 switchbacks down from that top, wind just all but disappears. And that sun is intense. It's just baking me right now. Good thing is, I know I'll be back in the shade here in another 20 minutes. So I gotta look at the bright side. In the meantime, I'm stuck on this open chaparral slope. Thank God it's not 100. It sure feels like it. It's probably only 75. It feels like it. Well, what a welcome relief this is. I'm finally down into some shade. There's pockets of sun coming through, but for the most part it's shady. Whew. Now, that was brutal. This shouldn't be so bad. A little buggy, but at least it's in the shade. And also that means I'm not that far from the car. Well, that'll do it for this episode of the Journal, a solo hike up to the Desert Divide, and my climb up to the top of Lion Peak. In the next adventure, I head up to the Laguna Mountains just south of Julian, California, for a solo campout to test out some new gear. I set up my Australian swag tent and cooked up some fresh damper, Aussie style, in a cast aluminum Dutch oven. I also take a short but interesting walk along a beautiful section of the Pacific Crest Trail and take in some magnificent scenery off Sunrise Highway before I headed home. All of this will be coming up in the next edition of the Hiking Journal. Once again, be sure and click the like button and subscribe to the channel to get the latest updates as I post them. Take care, and I'll see you down the trail. Bye-bye.